Seconded by Ms. Poindexter. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would also like to direct the council's attention to what was handed out a few moments ago, which is communication 150.45. I'm not going to motion that into life because it's identical to 4.42, except that it's colorized so that you can follow what I'm going to be telling you I'm recommending. So we'll be looking at 0.45 just because it's colorized easier. Right, this happens to be the amendments for the legislative branch's budget. And the reason I'm making this amendment is for several reasons. One, for transparency, so that we all know where the money really is. Two, to put the money in the right buckets because it's spread out in places I think it shouldn't be. And three, to fund both the KAU and the Kohala video conferencing sites. And I'd like to comment first on the KAU site. When we got the preliminary budget, there was no money in it for KAU, which is why we're having the reaction that we are having from the public. Secondly, there have been some council members who have wanted to stop using the KAU site for lack of use or insufficient use in their opinion. I was requested to bring in a summary of how much the site has been used. And since December 18th, which was our first meeting, the public testimonies have been 4. The public attendance has been 71, and the number of people who voluntarily signed in was 15. Now, I need to tell the council what else has been going on. I'm going to try to keep this a sanitized version. I know I have 5 minutes. I hope you'll grant me some latitude. We've had immeasurable problems getting it staffed, problems having, is that the 30-second? No? Thank you, panic. We can't get our emails out of our own system here to let people know there is a meeting. It's just been a nightmare for the last 5 months. It is being worked on at this point in time. However, if you will look at, let's start with the green stuff, the dark green down here, the DAEs. Now, if you look at the DAEs, you will know, and you read the council rules, DAEs are used for travel expenses. And the DAE and the NACO have been combined under HSAC NACO. That particular fund is for Mr. Onishi or whoever is the representative to go to the NACO and the HSAC meetings. It is not for the rest of us to be in his budget. That's really for him. This money should be up in Clerk Council of Service OCE DAE. And so what I did is take out the $17,000 that shouldn't be there and put it into the DAE for each one of us. I just divided 17 by 9 and stuck it in there. If you choose to go on a trip, that's fine. It's going to be transparent now to your constituents because they're going to be able to see how you spend your money instead of having it just fall into the general bucket for HSAC and NACO, which belongs really to Mr. Onishi. So the reason that's colorized is 17,000 came out of HSAC NACO and went up into the DAE, and I had 800 left over, and so I just put it into the other for whatever we're going to use. Secondly, if you look at the pink area, you'll see that I took $6,000 out of computers because that was a computer purchase, not a computer lease, which is more advantageous to us, and moved it into the North Kohala site for video conferencing equipment. They have none. They're going to need some, and so I just moved it down. This budget doesn't change any total amount for the branch. Let me go to the blue part. The blue, you see that I took out $13,400 out of meetings and hearings, travel and conference, and I put it into both the KAU site and the Kohala site for a part-time coordinator to staff these facilities. The calculations that my staff and I did show that in KAU, we're going to be using about 416 hours of time. The normal work for a year is 2,200. But we don't need to hire an employee, and I don't need to send my employees down. Just so this council understands what we're dealing with, the West Hawaii Civic Center, which is my office, is 46 miles from the Ocean View office, 59 miles from Naalehu, if we could even find a place in Naalehu, and we cannot, and 70 miles each direction, Pahala. From Hilo, Pahala is 55 miles. So it's ridiculous to have staff, mine or anybody else's, driving these ridiculous distances to turn these sites on and off. I suggest we do a miscellaneous contract, and that's what this money is about. We hire an outside employee. Our videographer is such an employee, and let them run these sites and live in the community and not be traveling and staying overnight. Then if you will look at the yellow, down at the bottom, the Contingency Relief Fund. We need to have money to do these things, to operate these remote sites. And so I took $2,000 out of each person's contingency relief. So instead of $100,000, which we haven't had any for years, we each have $98,000, and I took that money and covered both Kohala for the modem, Ka'u's modem, the site coordinator, the VC site rent, and the video conferencing equipment. That's how I came up with this amount of money. So the budget for the legislative branch changes nothing. It's the same number, but each of us are responsible, in my opinion, for making sure that we all have the ability to reach our communities. And you've heard a lot of testimony today from not even communities that I cover, supporting the fact that Kahala and Ka'u need to have the same benefits as everybody else. They need to be able to go someplace close by, not driving somewhere between 46 and 70 miles each way, in order to actually look us in the face and say, we have a problem. So I'm asking the council to support this. It's a very reasonable budget, it's transparent, and it's, more importantly, it's fair to the public and fair to all the districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. So comments on Ms. Ford's amendment. Ms. Willie?
Yes, I want to say that we had a budget amendment to put in for North Kohala. We weren't intending to do it at this meeting, and we're going to do it the next one, but since Ms. Ford introduced it with respect, combined her Ka'u site with North Kohala, this morning we passed out our proposed budget amendment. And I want to say that given what's already available there in North Kohala, we have a building, we have staff, we have most all of the video conferencing material. A lot of the money that's set aside in her bill is not necessary. If you look at communication number 150.44, we're asking for only $4,800. So I just think it's part of this. It's a big difference in the amount that she's put forward. What would it be for? Let me just ask Ms. Ford. Can I ask her a question? What did you have figured for North Kohala that we would need?
You will need the same type of a modem for connecting to a broadband circuit that we will need in Ka'u, which is $2,900 for each of us. You will need to have, I put in for a site coordinator because I don't know that Parks and Recreation or the Office of Aging would be willing to give up 416 hours of their employees' time to do the council's work. I think that's unrealistic. In addition, you've got to have video conferencing equipment. The last time we had to buy it for Ka'u, it was about $6,000.
Okay. I was just looking at what the difference in, you were figuring on a total for North Kohala for, what were you asking for North Kohala in your bill total?
Well, 29 and 67, 8, 96, and 6 is 13, 15, 6.
Okay, so we have been working with Office of Aging, and the Bank of Hawaii did give supplies. So I'm just saying we're going on 4,800. We're going to take a little more time to firm that up, but there's a big difference in the amount of money. So I think what I would do would be to, and I'll allow the discussion to go on, but to amend her bill by removing the North Kohala portion and allowing, I'm just really looking to the chair what procedure I should be doing here. I don't want to do it wrong.
Ms. Willie, you want to take out the provisions for the Ka'u site, no,
No, take out,
no, in this particular amendment and then put it back in yours, is that what you wanna do?
yeah, I just wanna take out the North Kohala portion out of communication 150-45, and then we'll deal with, North Kohala in communication 150-44, and I just wanna make sure I handle this.
Right, that's what I thought you said you
Yeah.
wanted to do. So you could amend it, if you wanted to be cleaner, so there's a cleaner break and a better,
Yeah,
that-
so I
that's
would,
your preference.
I would move to remove the portion from Brenda's 150.45, the items for North Kohala,
So,
and we'll deal with those.
so we would need a written amendment, because I think it's gonna get a little confusing. So-
Okay, so,
Yeah,
and maybe we could postpone the vote, table this
Yeah,
till a
we-
little later, I just wasn't sure how to handle this.
okay,
And maybe Brenda, you have any other suggestion?
okay, so you wanna make that motion, you're gonna
Yes.
hold off on it?
Second.
Yeah, well, she's holding off on the motion for now, right? 'Cause
Can I ask to table this one till a little later, and I'll write up what would be appropriate, but I would like Ms. Ford to just have a chance to respond if she has any comments.
that's fine, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly up to Ms. Willie what she wants to do with her staff. We did a lot of work on this. If she wants to take out the 15,600 and reduce it to 48, I don't have a problem with that. I would suggest that the 15,600 go back into the contingency money though. So that's where I got a lot of it. So that would give, whatever that's gonna turn out to be.
Okay, before you make the motion, Margaret, Ms. Willie, maybe we want to hear from other council members, then you can
Yes.
make the motion,
Yes,
so we can go.
Definitely.
So I think Mr. Onishi was first, and then Ms. Poindexter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, looking at this looks good, but to me, if we do pass Bill 39 draft 2, each council member will be allowed $100,000 in their contingency funds. So I feel that the funds to pay for the Ka'u site or Kohala site should be coming out of their contingency funds. So I would recommend that you withdraw this whole thing, and you folks can use your contingency funds to pay for all these expenses, because that's what your contingency funds are for. So I would say you just withdraw this whole thing. Thank you.
Okay, so that's your, let me move to Ms. Poindexter, go ahead.
I was concerned about doing more or new things, opening up new sites, because I have been approached by a lot of people in Hamakua on, they know that Kohala may be opening one, so what happened with Hamakua? Why am I not fighting for a site in Hamakua? And so I feel that this is not the right time yet. We still need to go and look at what are the possibilities out there. Right now, I agree with the comment that Council Member Onishi made. If we want to add something in our community without doing the proper planning for the entire island, if we're looking at video streaming, opportunities for video conferencing, then yes, we have our 100,000 contingency fund that we can tap into to make that happen for our communities. But I don't think right now we should be stretching outside of that until we look at a comprehensive plan on what would work for this island. We're just funding now the IT, and IT is a big part of planning with our video conferencing or video streaming or whatever it is. I've also heard from a lot of the seniors in the Ka'u district when I went to the office of a celebration that they had too, that they had a Nalehu Resource Center. I do support keeping Ka'u open. I do, where Ocean View is. However, on staffing, right now Pahoa is staffed by our council member Ilagan's staff, and Waimea is staffed by council member Willie's staff, and they both occupy both offices too. So we've got to look at a balance here, and I've heard it from two testifiers today, Mr. Reese and Ms. Rudolph. Let's be fair. That was their statements. It's about fairness and equality. So let's look at this instead of keep opening up sites. Let's do a comprehensive plan on where we're heading for, you know, what are we doing with IT? And it's too premature to be doing, creating new sites yet at this point, because if we do look at fairness, I need to fight for our people of Hamakua also to have that same opportunity as other rural communities have, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Let's, before we check back with Ms. Ford, Mr. Iliga.
Thank you, Chair. Is it okay if I call in Mr. Jeff Hahn? And hopefully our video streaming will all just go down.
If he's available, I know
Jeff,
he's
are you
monitoring.
available? The reason why I'm bringing him over is because we've been looking at our video conferencing, and we've just been focused kind of with our blinders on. Jeff has been working with this equipment for a long time, and if we were to get any advice on how we could move forward, I would like to get Jeff's opinion on it.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a complex thing with, but it's certainly, the biggest costs I think are with your staffing and your facilities, the rental, the, you know, we're using internet technology, which is, I think, the direction that we're going. So as long as you've got a good, strong internet connection, the equipment isn't a big cost. I mean, that's a relative term, but you need a laptop computer, you need a projector and a screen, some miscellaneous things. So yeah, it's those. I mean, I really just can give you technical advice as far as the staffing and facilities. I can't really comment on that. So.
First of all, this is the man who makes all this working. And
It's a team.
I just want to say great job, because
Well,
we're
thank you.
getting good reception. The question I have is live streaming for the whole county. Our chair brought this up, and this solves not only Kau, this solves Hamakua, this solves Kona, this solves anybody who has internet connection to be able to watch and participate in our council.
No.
Not really participate,
Yeah.
but they can watch. And they can also participate in the sense where they can send an email and testimony of what the agenda had and then watch what was going on. Because when public participate, they come in and they testify. But at the same time, sending it by email, that's a way we can solve a lot of problems in participation. So I just wanted to ask, what's your opinion on live streaming for the whole county?
Well, live streaming is something that we actually have in our contract that we would provide for free years ago. But the problem is you can't legally, from what I understand, again, I'm not the attorney, I shouldn't be commenting on this, but it's evident that you need captioning with, for the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. To be fair to those who may be hard of hearing, they have to have some way to understand the meeting, so you have to put these captions on, which is a very, time-consuming and expensive process if you want to do it very well. And I think it's important to understand that captioning process, because that's, approximately half of the cost that for our company to provide the service that we provide. You'll hear people talk about cost savings, and believe me, our company would be doing that if we could. But we employ a team of transcribers who, very carefully listen to these recordings in sections, and we think do a pretty good job in the time constraints we have to transcribe very accurately what every word is said. And we're exploring the technology, and it's evolving to do voice to text. But let me tell you, it's a long ways away. If you think about a computer trying to understand Hawaiian language and the local dialects, and when two people talk on top of each other, only a human being can go back and separate that out and get that right. So one option, but it can be done live. it would probably cost a little more, like on Oahu, they do it, and other locales, they do live. If you look at those and study the quality of the captions, I think you'll see that there are many omissions, paraphrasing, sometimes things are inaccurate. We could shift to that, you know, and we would have to employ a new team of more skilled transcribers who could do it very rapidly. They're specially trained. In fact, there's very few of them on this island, if any, that I know of at this point. We would have to employ people from the mainland who would log into the meeting live, and they would hear the text and they would transcribe it. And then as they live transcribe it, it would get shot back here via the internet and then made into text and put on the screen. But, you know, again, finding people, there's some people that we've spoken to on Oahu who are doing this for the county of Honolulu.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, so I
Thank you.
could go on and
No,
on.
no, I got it.
I understand.
And thank you for bringing that up. Oh, go ahead. You seems like you have just one.
Well, you know, in terms of the interaction, you know, the live streaming, as we've talked about it, is a one-way thing. So you can't get participation from these other sites. You've got to have a different technology or software employed to get people to be able to speak from the other sites. And there was an interesting test of that done, well, an expansion of that done actually with the state legislature this year. I don't know quite how well it went in the end, but they were allowing people, their software is readily available where people at home can participate. It's just an expanded, it's like Skype, but expanding it out to more sites. And it gets complicated technically, but you can send that person an email with a special link and they can join the meeting.
The possibility is there.
There's all kinds of technical possibilities. It's just
Thank
the
you.
time for the equipment and the staffing to operate it, and, or, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to bring that point out because we're looking at just one part of the island when we can actually serve the whole island. And I myself has taken the part to move my office to the old police station so we can save the county $24,000. And right now, I have my council aide operating the satellite conference every time I have this meeting. And I would rather have him here. And you're asking for a part-time position, and I would love a part-time position. Councilmember Fresh made a good point about if you, because right now, like the chair mentioned, Kau site is an operational, and Kau site will be an operational, whether or not these amendments pass. So I just wanted to mention that I'm doing my part to make sure the Pahoa satellite conference site is open and available to the public. And if you want to upgrade it, I highly suggest using the contingency relief fund. Because even for moving into the Pahoa office, I'm using the volunteer force of my community, so we wouldn't be tapping into council budget. And like you said, we shouldn't be tapping into the other departments because this is council work. And we should do this as a way to lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legon. We're going to go to Mr. Curran and then back to Ms. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to make a quick statement for the public. Two meetings ago, we had discussion about the Kau site. Asked Ms. Ford to bring some information. I thank you for bringing that in there. That got turned into people saying that I was trying to thwart public testimony. That's never been the case. I think public testimony is great. I'm actually happy that my statements, since my statements, we've seen the most testimony from the Kau site that we've had. That's a good thing. But I am also about fiscal responsibility, and if it's not being used and we're spending the money all the time, then it becomes a challenge. So I would like to see the sites being used. And Mr. Iligan makes a good point, as well as Mr. Onishi. The Kau site is one of those sites that does require staffing. The Pahoa site, the Waimea site, the Kona site, they're all staffed by staff members that we have. council staff members, or our staff members. So there's not an additional cost there. So if people come, they come. If they don't come, they don't come. It's not an additional cost. With KAU, there is an additional cost in there. I think that needs to be looked at. I think Mr. Omishi's suggestions could make a lot of sense. I just want to make it clear that I'm not trying to, I don't support stopping people to access their county government. I just want to make sure that we are also being financial stewards of the taxpayers' money, and that what we do does make sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Ms. Ford.
Thank you. Well, let's back up here and get some things corrected. First of all, if you look at the council rules, the contingency money is to be used for county-related projects, not ongoing operational expenses. Number two, the PAHOA office and Ms. Willie's office in Kohala are offices. They are county rented or leased or owned, and no money's involved, offices of council members. KAU is not my office. It's a video conferencing site. There is no staff there. And not only have I had to staff it, and I'm losing 6 days a month of my staff, that's more than 25% of a month's work out of one staff member. But I've been forced to pay for the mileage to get my staff member there, despite the fact it is not my office. This was started by Ms. Smart. I committed to continue it. And KAU has never had any ability to communicate with this council, ever. Now, to say, well, let's wait until some nebulous time in the future when we can think about streaming or whatever, well, we've been here how many years? KAU's never had a thing, not one thing. They are desperate to get in touch with us, and I've explained the problems that have been inhibiting the ability of my staff to get information out to KAU, and it seems to be falling on deaf ears. So you're trying to use the contingency fund for operational money, and yet not one of the two council members who have a remote office are willing to pay out of their contingency funds for their electricity, their modems, all of their equipment, but they want me to, even though it's not my office. Now, we have another council member who has stated, well, gee, I might want to have one in my district. Go for it. If your district needs a remote site for video conferencing, do it. That's what we're here for, is to help our districts. Don't hold my district back because you haven't brought forward an amendment to help your district. That is completely unfair. Now, I have money in here because one of the problems is we are renting a site. This is not a county site. And the extra money that I've got in here is because I'm hoping in the next 12 months that we will have a county site and some of this stuff will go away. I can't promise that because I can't promise if we're going to have a county site in the next 12 months. That's why the money is here. If Ms. Willie doesn't want the money for her site, I have no problems with her giving it up, putting it back in the contingency fund. But my site needs help. It is not fair for you, anyone on this council, to require me to pay for stuff that the rest of you are getting out of the general legislative branch fund and stick it to me and stick it to KAU. Not right. It is not right. And it's time you guys face the music here that every remote area in this island deserves to have something. You've got something in Puna, you've got something in Kohala, you've got Kona, you've got Hilo, and KAU is, but not in Hamakua and not in KAU. Not in KAU. And we've had 4 months and nothing but massive, massive problems trying to communicate this information out to KAU. 4 months with practically no ability to get the public aware that this site exists, and you want to cut the money out of the budget. I hope all of your constituents who have come in here and testified are listening to what you are saying about KAU. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Ford, let me just clear for the record. No one's trying to stick it to KAU, and I don't want any comments like that, because you can state your position as far as what your opinions are, but please don't paraphrase what other council members are doing. That's a rule of order and procedure. So you're entitled to your own opinion, Ms. Ford, but don't try and start making accusations. Let people talk for themselves. So I'm going to move on. So we're going to go for our second round. She's had her second opportunity, and then Ms. Willie, do you want to make the motion to table because you wanted to make an amendment, or?
Yeah, but I wanted to clarify
Okay.
something.
Hold on one second. Ms. Eop didn't have an opportunity to speak yet, so let me take her first, and then we'll come back. Go ahead, Ms. Yap.
Okay, I have two questions. First of all, if money's already, been put in draft 2 for the site, then, and Kohala may come out of this communication, and it seems to me like this needs to be represented anyway, so we can figure it out better, because I have a, question also about the site coordinator. First of all, I think that idea could work as either a, rather than take staff time, but I don't know if that's legal or acceptable within our council procedures as a procurement or a contractor. I don't really understand that, so I needed to get more clarification on what the site coordinator position, how that works, and if it can work.
Okay,
Is she
so,
asking a question?
Yeah, so I'm asking a question. I'm not sure who to ask it of.
Me?
Well, no. I think I need a court counsel or a clerk or something like that. If anybody has the answer, whether we can do this. Can we hire a site coordinator as a contracted person for a video conference site? How would we do that?
oh, yeah, let me take Ms. Ward, let me take a shot at it, and then, okay. What I believe they're trying to do is to hire someone to just be there on specific days, committee, council days, I guess, or whatever time we have meetings. So I believe we're able to do that through a contract service. So I don't see any problems with doing that. I think we've done that in the past with other situations, so we can do that.
And I guess my question would be how we can understand this amendment with taking out Kohala and also the amount that was already put in for the in our budget for the, I think it was for the rent.
So actually, Ms. Yap, you bring up a good point. It might be cleaner just to maybe try and do this, at the end of the agenda or even at the next hearing, because it is a little complicated and we want to get it right. So I'll entertain thoughts on that. Ms. Willie, you wanted to, or?
Yes, I think, first thing is, I think in all of our discussion, we're sort of, I feel there's an assumption that we're gonna pass the contingency fund. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I just wanna say that in this discussion, we're making an assumption that really shouldn't, I don't feel should be, is appropriate to be made at this point. Second, I think that I really appreciate this discussion, and I think that we ought to think about how none of us are really saying anything wrong here. We're all trying to balance when we're looking at different issues and how to deal with remote areas. I don't feel anyone's trying to come down on anyone else's area. So I think this is a kind of, I just want to stress, the kind of conversations that we're going to be having where we have different points of view and that they're all valid and we're just trying to all balance it. The other thing, just to go back to what Councilmember Iligan said, is sort of, well, we have these other possibilities coming forward. To me, that's an example of what I said about, let's figure out what we do this year and also plan for the future. I very much doubt there's anything of what you spoke about that we could really come up with in this coming year that will address it. So I just, in terms of your thinking about that or others who have brought that up, let's look at sort of bigger picture areas, comprehensive. I really feel let's really look at those, but it's not realistic for this particular time. And I will say that I think the thing about Kau, it is the most remote. I worked really hard on when they were doing the redistricting, and really hard to try to get different areas together as Councilmember Poindexter and Kanuha know, and that we really have to be aware of that need. I also think that there should be some consideration of level of utilization. I think that if we are looking at things, whether it's Kau or Kohala or wherever, that we consider a certain period and we don't necessarily budget like buying a building or doing something. Let's see what we can do for a period of time, and if there is a really high level of utilization to it. I mean, I tried to work for North Kohala to really work with Office of aging and everything I could to keep this down to a minimal amount. I would be open to actually considering doing it as part of the contingency funding. If in the future it became something that really it was substantial, I would say, I would ask that this be at a higher level. So I'm feeling very open. I just think no one should take any comments from the others that are, where we're each trying to work on our own area. Other than, I think the participation is important, just being able to hear isn't adequate, and that in Kahu, they have had a lot of issues. I would try to, if there were a way to look at how can we get Kahu's down and just take a look, get it through this year and sort of reevaluate on a longer term, I would hope to do that. So I'd like to table it. I'd really like to even wait till May 30th, and after we get through, well, that's how I feel. I at least in terms of Kohala, I would like to look at other things that are going on, and nothing negative on Kahu. I just feel that this issue, I don't want to get where we're fighting over something at this point, which really we're not going to need to be fighting for if we wait. So I'm going to move. I want Ms. Ford to have a last comment, but I do move to table that. Actually, I'd like to postpone it until May 30th.
Okay, so the motion to postpone to May 30th, seconded by Mr. Onishi, I believe. Okay. On the motion to postpone, Ms. Will, I think you explained it, but do you have anything else to add to the
No, I
postponement?
don't.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so we're taking comments on the motion to postpone. Mr. Onishi?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'll support that, and hopefully things can be adjusted from this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Ford?
Well, obviously don't support the postponement. I have no problem taking out the Kahala stuff at all. I mean, I did that as a courtesy to someone I knew was trying to open an office. But the postponement isn't gaining us anything. We're still not dealing with the fact that the council rule says we can't pay for this stuff, operational stuff, out of the contingency budget. Everybody's ignoring that. You're also ignoring, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the bill. I'm sorry. But the postponement, this can be changed right now by the end of the, table it to the end of the rest of the discussion. I can have my staff take out Kohala. The other items, though, it's hard not to talk about what these items are in here for. They're trying to deal with the issues that have not been resolved in the last 5 months by the management of this council. So I oppose the postponement.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion to postpone? Hearing or seeing none, Mr. Clerk, on the motion to postpone to May 30th.
Ms. Ia,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
No.
Mr. Iligan,
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha,
Aye.
Mr. Kern,
Aye.
Mr. Onishi,
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter,
Aye.
Ms. Willie,
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 8 ayes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. So, communication 150.42 is postponed to May 30th. Next item, Ms. Ford, which one do you take up?